Nelson Mandela was born in 1918 in a small village in South Africa. His village was quiet and full of nature. There were green trees, open fields, and blue skies. People lived simply. They worked on farms, took care of animals, and helped each other. Nelson was the youngest child in his family. He had 3 older siblings. As a boy, he enjoyed playing outside. He ran barefoot with his friends, played games with sticks, and helped to herd cattle. He was curious, always asking questions. He wanted to learn more about the world. Nelson's father was a local chief. People respected him. He taught young Nelson to be proud of who he was. But when Nelson was 7 years old, his father died. It was a sad and confusing time for the young boy. After his father's death, Nelson went to live with his uncle. His uncle was also a chief, but of a larger village. Life there was different. His uncle believed in strong rules and hard work. He also believed in education. Nelson was sent to a missionary school. For the first time, he wore shoes and sat in a classroom. He learned to read and write in English. He studied subjects like math, history, and science. School was not easy, but Nelson liked learning. He loved to read stories about heroes, kings, and leaders. These stories made him dream. He started to think, maybe one day I can help people too. As he grew older, Nelson began to notice that life was not fair for everyone. In school, some children were treated better than others. He started to see that the color of a person's skin could change how they were treated. This made him feel confused and sad. He started asking more questions. Why do some people have more power? Why do others have less? These questions stayed in his heart. When Nelson was a teenager, he moved to Johannesburg. It was a big city, very different from his village. There were cars, tall buildings, and busy streets. But in the city, he also saw something shocking. He saw how black people were treated differently from white people. They could not go to the same restaurants, schools, or hospitals. They had to live in separate areas. Nelson saw pain on people's faces. He heard angry voices. He felt a strong feeling inside. This was wrong. One day, he saw a young black boy crying near a bus stop. The boy had been pushed off the bus just because of his skin color. Nelson sat beside him and said, "Do not let this break you. You are important." That moment stayed with Nelson. He knew he had to do something. He could not stay quiet. Nelson continued his education in Johannesburg. He worked hard and kept learning, but he was also listening. He listened to old men talk about the past. He listened to workers who were tired and angry. He listened to mothers who wanted a better life for their children. And he listened to his own heart. His heart was telling him to fight for justice. Nelson was not rich. He was not powerful. But he had something strong inside. He cared. He wanted people to live together with respect and kindness. He wanted every child to go to school. He wanted every person to feel safe and free. These dreams were big, but Nelson believed in them. Even as a young boy, Nelson Mandela was different. He was quiet, but he was strong. He was kind, but he was brave. And even though he did not know it yet, he was on the path to become one of the most important leaders the world would ever know. His story was just beginning. Nelson Mandela moved to the city of Johannesburg to study law. He wanted to become a lawyer and help people. At the university, he was one of the few black students. Life was not easy. Many people looked down on him because of his skin color. But Nelson worked hard. He believed that knowledge was power. He believed that education could help change the world. While living in the city, Nelson saw many unfair things. He saw black people being treated badly every day. They had to carry special papers to move around. They could not live in good houses. They were paid less than white people. They had no voice in government. This system was called apartheid. It was a system that kept black and white people apart. It was not fair, and it made many people suffer. Nelson could not accept this. He joined a group called the African National Congress, or ANC. The ANC wanted to fight against apartheid. At first, they used peaceful ways to protest. They held marches and gave speeches. They told people to stop buying from stores that supported apartheid. Nelson spoke with strong words. He said, "We want freedom. We want equal rights. We want peace." But the government did not listen. Instead, they made the laws even worse. They arrested people who protested. They stopped meetings. They wanted to scare people. In 1960, the government banned the ANC. This meant the ANC could no longer work in public. But Nelson did not give up. He continued to work in secret. He moved from place to place, speaking to workers and students. He wore different clothes and used fake names to stay safe. In 1962, the police found and arrested Nelson. They said he was planning to harm the government. He was taken to court and put on trial. In the courtroom, Nelson stood tall. He did not lie. He said, "I have fought for a world where all people are equal. It is a dream I am willing to die for." His words were powerful. The court gave him a life sentence. He was sent to a faraway prison called Robben Island. Life in prison was hard. The prison was cold, and the work was heavy. Nelson had to break stones under the hot sun. He was allowed very few visits from family. But even in prison, he stayed strong. He read books. He wrote letters. He shared ideas with other prisoners. He listened and taught. Some prisoners were angry and wanted revenge. But Nelson said, "Hate will not help us. We must stay calm. We must keep hope alive." Outside the prison, people began to speak his name. At first, it was just a few, but slowly, more people joined. They sang songs about him. They painted his face on walls. Students, workers, and leaders around the world began to ask, "Why is this man in jail? He only asked for freedom." Countries started to speak out against South Africa's government. Some even stopped trading with South Africa. Years passed. Nelson stayed in prison for a long time, but he never gave up. He believed that one day things would change. He dreamed of a free South Africa where black and white people could live together in peace. He kept that dream alive in his heart. One day, a young prisoner asked him, "Do you hate the people who put you here?" Nelson looked at him and said, "No. If I hate, I lose my freedom inside." These words showed who Nelson really was. Even in pain, he chose peace. Even in jail, he was still a leader. Nelson Mandela's fight was not just with words or protests. His fight was also inside, against anger, fear, and despair. He taught others to stay strong, to believe in justice, and to never lose hope. The world was starting to listen. A great change was coming, and Nelson Mandela, even behind bars, was lighting the way. In 1990, after 27 years in prison, Nelson Mandela was finally free. The day he walked out of prison, people all across South Africa were watching. Many were crying. Some were singing. Others were dancing. It was a moment of great joy and hope. But Nelson did not come out with anger. He came out calmly. He gave a short speech. He said, "I am free now, but my freedom is not complete. Our journey is not over." His voice was soft but strong. He was ready to help his country heal. 4 years later, in 1994, South Africa held its first free election. For the first time, black and white people could vote together. Millions of people stood in long lines. Some waited for hours just to cast their vote. It was a historic moment, and when the votes were counted, Nelson Mandela was chosen as the first black president of South Africa. But Mandela knew that leading a country was not just about winning. It was about bringing people together. South Africa had been divided for many years. Black people and white people did not trust each other. There was fear. There was pain. But Mandela believed that peace was possible. He believed that forgiveness was stronger than hate. One of the first things Mandela did as president was to start the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. This was a place where people could tell the truth about the past. People who had suffered could share their stories. People who had done wrong could admit their actions. It was not easy. Many people cried. But Mandela believed that healing needed honesty. He said, "We must forgive, not because they deserve it, but because we deserve peace." Mandela also worked to improve life for everyone. He focused on education, healthcare, and housing. He visited schools and encouraged children to study. He told them, "Education is the most powerful weapon to change the world." He wanted every child to have a chance. He wanted every family to live with dignity. He wanted South Africa to be a home for all people. Mandela did not stay in power forever. After one term, he stepped down. He believed that leadership was not about staying in control. It was about doing your part and then letting others lead. Even after retirement, Mandela kept working. He started the Nelson Mandela Foundation. This group helped people learn about peace, justice, and equality. He traveled the world and spoke about human rights. He was given many awards, including the Nobel Peace Prize, but Mandela stayed humble. He often said, "I am not a saint, unless you think of a saint as a sinner who keeps trying." One day, Mandela met one of the guards from the prison where he had spent many years. The man said, "I was wrong. I'm sorry." Mandela looked at him and smiled. He said, "Thank you. Your words bring peace." That moment was powerful. It showed that forgiveness can change hearts. It showed that leadership is about kindness. Mandela passed away in 2013 at the age of 95. The world mourned his death, but people also celebrated his life. In South Africa and around the world, people remembered his courage, his wisdom, and his deep love for humanity. His birthday, July 18th, is now called Mandela Day. On that day, people are encouraged to do good things for others. They clean their communities, help the poor, and spread kindness. Mandela once said, "It is in our hands to make the world a better place." And people try to honor that message every year. Today, children in schools learn about Nelson Mandela. Teachers tell his story. Some students say, "I want to be like him." His life shows us that one person with love and patience can change the world. He taught us that leadership is not about power. It is about service. He showed us that forgiveness is not weakness. It is strength. Nelson Mandela's light still shines, and it continues to guide us toward peace. Nelson Mandela's story is one of hope, strength, and deep love for justice. He was born in a small village, played in the fields, and dreamed like any other child. But when he saw unfairness in the world, he chose to stand up. Even when life became hard, he did not stop. He studied, spoke out, and stood tall. When others were silent, he used his voice. When many felt afraid, he showed courage. He was arrested, put in prison, and taken away from his family. He stayed there for 27 years, but even in prison, his heart stayed open. He did not choose hate. He chose peace. When he was finally free, he became the leader of his country. But instead of seeking revenge, he offered forgiveness. Instead of fighting back with anger, He built a future with kindness. As president, Mandela worked to bring people together. He believed that a better world was possible, not just for South Africa, but for all of us. He showed us that one person, just one, can change history. Not with violence, but with words. Not with hate, but with love. Not with power, but with purpose. From his story, we learn many lessons, but the most important one is this: forgiveness is freedom. When we forgive others, we let go of pain. We create space for peace. We also learn that leadership is not about being the strongest. It is about helping others, standing up for what is right, and never giving up, no matter how hard things get. In our world today, we still see injustice. We still see hate and fear. But if we remember Mandela's story, we can choose a better path. We can be kind when others are not. We can speak out when something is wrong. And we can lead by example, just like he did. Thank you for listening to the full story of Nelson Mandela. By reaching the end, you have not only learned about an amazing person, you have also improved your English listening and understanding skills. That is a big achievement, and you should feel proud of yourself. Now here's a small quiz for you. What did Nelson Mandela do after becoming president? A. He punished the people who hurt him. B. He worked for peace and forgiveness. Please comment your answer below with A or B. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us keep creating more inspiring and easy-to-understand English stories. We are doing this for free to help you learn English in a simple and enjoyable way. But in the beginning, it is very hard to keep the channel running with good content. If you believe in what we do, please consider donating to our channel. Even a small gift can help us a lot. Thank you so much for being here with us, and we hope to see you in the next story.